Not afraid of bad gangsters. Just afraid of gangsters who can cook. This is the streets of Taipei at 1 a.m. A time when the roads should be quiet and deserted. Yet they are gradually becoming lively. People are drawn to this street-side food stall. A place filled with the warmth of daily life. There is no name here. No signboard. Only a group of people with rich stories. And their signature dishes. The story began more than 10 years ago, when a former gangster boss led his men to turn over a new leaf. From then on, they relied on running a food stall to make a living. And thus, this eatery was born. However, when gangsters switched to being waiters, they still carried their fierce looks and foul language. Often, the boss himself had to step in with a ladle in hand to discipline them before they served customers properly. Interestingly, even when scolding them, the boss would still curse. Later on, customers jokingly called this place the Midnight Gangster Craze. Every night at midnight, when the shops along the street closed, the staff would start setting up, dressed in matching black uniforms. They worked together to set up tables and food carts, carefully sorting and arranging fresh ingredients. By this time, customers who had been waiting in line would come forward to place their pre-orders. The stall offers a total of 17 stir-fried dishes, except for the shrimp and egg stir-fry, which costs 150 NTD. All other dishes are priced uniformly at 120 NTD per plate. The combination of delicious food and affordable prices ensures that the place is packed every night. 6 staff members work non-stop, from setting up to closing down. At exactly 1 a.m., the stall officially opens for business. 2 chefs light up the stoves one after another, starting their seamless cooperation. First, they use high heat to evaporate any moisture in the iron wok. Then add solidified pork lard, continuously heating it until it melts. Every dish here is cooked with homemade pork lard, an all-natural cooking technique passed down by the older generation. The lard is rendered without industrial cleaning, leaving no chemical residues, and it enhances the dishes with an unbeatable aroma. This is the undeniable truth that contradicts many experts. The pure white pork lard gradually melts before your eyes, turning into a clear, transparent liquid. Thin wisps of smoke rise from the wok, releasing the nostalgic scent of home-cooked meals from childhood. Once most of the fat has melted, it is poured into a container for later use. Meanwhile, at the adjacent stove, the boss is pouring shrimp into the pan, blanched them in hot water until half-cooked. As the boss, he chose the toughest and most exhausting job, bravely enduring the heat of the stove and the weight of the iron wok. He heated the wok and poured in freshly rendered pork lard, heating it to 60% of its capacity. Then, he turned around and brought out a large bowl of beaten eggs, seasoned with salt and pepper. After mixing it well, he poured the egg mixture directly into the wok. The golden egg liquid cascaded like a rushing waterfall, crashing into the hot oil with a sizzling sound. The moment it touched the oil, it began to solidify. At this point, the boss sprinkled a handful of bright green scallions in the center, then stirred the eggs counterclockwise with an iron ladle. As the golden silky eggs absorbed the rich pork lard, they gradually thickened into a semi-solid state, releasing an irresistible aroma. A small spoonful of soy sauce was added for extra flavor. Then, the boss lifted the wok off the stove and set it aside, scooping the pre-blanched shrimp into the pan. He freed up another wok to repeat the same process. With a constant flow of customers, 1 wok of eggs was never enough. But the boss was already used to cooking batch after batch of scrambled eggs. Meanwhile, another chef was deep-frying diced chicken in sizzling hot oil. The boiling oil crisped the chicken to a golden brown, sealing in all its juices, preparing it for the next dish. At this moment, the 3rd batch of scrambled eggs was nearing completion. This time, instead of plating the eggs, the boss added the 2 previous semi-cooked batches back into the wok, stir-frying them together. He used his iron ladle to move the eggs around, checking their texture, then quickly switched the stove settings. Low heat for seasoning, high heat for stir-frying, until the entire batch was perfectly cooked. The first plate of shrimp scrambled eggs of the night was finally done. The boss grabbed a plate, expertly plated the dish, and handed it to a tattooed waiter, who could skillfully stack up to 5 plates on his arm, delivering up to 7 dishes at a time, with incredible speed. Right after, the 2nd batch of shrimp scrambled eggs was finished. The soft, silky eggs paired with a fresh, bouncy shrimp. Each plate carried the intense, smoky aroma of high-heat stir-frying. Before serving, a drizzle of homemade sweet savory sauce made it even more mouth-watering. Following closely, the next dish, Kung Pao chicken, was ready. Onions, minced garlic, and chili peppers were first stir-fried in pork lard to release their fragrance. Then green peppers were added, along with 5 spoons of sugar for seasoning. At this moment, a kitchen assistant poured in the freshly fried chicken pieces, seamlessly coordinating with the boss. Once the flavors blended, more seasonings were added. The classic Kung Pao chicken sauce consisted of white sugar, rice wine, white vinegar, and soy sauce, creating a perfect balance of sweet, sour, spicy, and savory. With his expert stir-frying skills, the boss tossed the entire wok of chicken with powerful motions, lifting and flipping the pieces high into the air. Yet not a single piece fell out of the wok. Not a single piece. A testament to his remarkable precision. Unlike the traditional recipe, this version had no scallions or cucumbers, and the chicken was deep-fried instead. Finally, a layer of crispy fried peanuts and dried red chilies was added, then quickly stir-fried over high heat, until aromatic and well-mixed. With that, the dish was ready to be served. Compared to Kung Pao chicken, this dish might be better named sweet and sour spicy chicken. What a dish is called doesn't really matter. What matters most is that it tastes good. As soon as the boss's dish leaves the wok, it's instantly celebrated. A huge hit among customers. The sweet and tangy chicken, crispy on the outside and bursting with juices inside, paired with high-heat stir-fried peanuts, releases an irresistible roasted aroma, leaving a lingering aftertaste. Meanwhile, the chef who just finished frying the chicken immediately moves on to prepare ingredients for the next dish, handling those that require deep frying. He takes long strips of firm tofu and directly places them into the boiling oil for frying. As the oil sizzles violently, sparks of oil fly up and ignite in the flames at the edge of the wok, sending a burst of fire into the air. He shakes the iron wok while gently pushing the tofu with a ladle to prevent them from sticking together. The high-temperature frying process removes any unwanted flavors from the tofu, crisping the outer layer to a perfect golden brown, enhancing its aroma and texture. Once deep-fried, the tofu becomes firm and no longer fragile. After cooling, it is ready to be cut and prepared for the boss's next dish. While the tofu is frying, the boss swiftly heats up another wok and pours in an entire bowl of fresh, tender beef. Next, he adds broth until it fully covers the beef, then scoops in a large spoonful of sauté sauce, letting it dissolve into the broth for a rich base flavor. He then tosses in a handful of water spinach, cranking up the heat to stir-fry at full blast. As the vegetables begin to soften, he adds a second batch, repeating the process in stages. Cooking in batches allows a large quantity of vegetables to be added, without compromising the stir-frying process. Finally, he reduces the broth into a thick, flavorful sauté sauce. And just like that, the sauté beef stir-fry is complete. The tender, sauce-coated beef pairs perfectly with the crispy, juicy water spinach. Each bite alternates between rich umami and refreshing sweetness, delivering an explosion of flavor. The same technique can also be used to make beef stir-fried noodles. Simply replace the water spinach with noodles, tossing them together with the beef and sauté sauce in the broth. Halfway through, a few spoonfuls of fish sauce and soy sauce are added. Then everything is stir-fried over high heat until evenly coated. White sugar and black pepper are sprinkled in. And finally, another handful of water spinach is tossed in. Stir-fried continuously until the sauce coats every strand of noodle. At that moment, the dish is ready. The roaring flames wrapping around the iron wok char the edges of the noodles as they are tossed, infusing them with the intense smoky essence that only true high-heat stir-frying can achieve, infusing it with an irresistible smoky aroma. That's why customers can't get enough of it. At this moment, the prepared fried tofu finally takes center stage. The boss tosses it into the wok along with shredded pork, sliced green peppers, and julienne carrots. Next, he adds a few spoonfuls of broth, soy sauce, and black pepper for seasoning. Once the seasonings are fully combined, he adds mushrooms, bringing the broth to a rolling boil over high heat. He deliberately lightens his grip to prevent the tofu from breaking apart. After adding a few spoonfuls of sugar, he switches to high-heat braising mode, allowing the flavorful broth to fully penetrate the tofu. Soaked with rich, savory sauce, the tofu becomes as delicious as braised pork belly. This is the famous braised tofu that keeps customers raving. Switching to a new dish, the boss places fresh pork kidney slices into a pot of cold water and brings them to a quick blanch. As the water temperature rises, the bright red kidney slices gradually turn pale. Before they fully change color, he quickly removes them from the water. Now, he heats up a wok and adds cold oil. But not just any oil. This time, he uses sesame oil. While commonly used as a seasoning in mainland China, sesame oil is also perfect for stir-frying. Its rich aroma effectively masks unpleasant odors in certain ingredients, like the gamey smell of pork kidney. First, he stir-fries a handful of bean sprouts in sesame oil, then adds the blanched kidney slices, stirring everything together. To remove any lingering odor, he pours in half a bottle of high-proof rice wine. As soon as the rice wine hits the wok, the flames from the stove ignite the alcohol, sending a burst of fire skyward. The key to achieving crispy outside, tender inside kidneys. He then seasons with salt and MSG for a balanced flavor. Finishes with a ladle of starchy water to thicken the sauce. And just like that, the sesame oil pork kidney stir-fry is ready. The large kidney slices are crisp yet springy. The thin bean sprouts are crunchy and juicy, all infused with the rich aroma of sesame oil. Brought out by the high-heat stir-fry, the taste is truly on another level. Thank you for watching. See you next time.